them was Countryless and Queer, a feature-length essay about non-privileged queer migration in Vienna that I shot and edited as a KÜLTÜR GEMMA Fellow of 2018. And I'm going to show the trailer from the film, so to orient what kind of sprout out of this map. The film unfolds the narratives of 5 queer migrants from context outside of global north, which have been marked by gender violence, homophobia, economic instability, and social misbalance. Beyond narratives of damage, marginality is lived through and treated in the film as a space for emancipation and resistance, full of humor and joy, dignity and erotics, emancipation and the struggle. And this map, now in this frozen form of a photographic collage, contains and encapsulates the thoughts that sprouted in the film. And I'm going to show you the snippet from the trailer. Oops, I think I'm sorry, I think I have a whole film. Okay, so I'll just show you a few moments. Made a mistake.
I only see a black screen.
You see black screen? Oh no. Oh, thank you for telling me. I think I made the mistake. Okay, hold on 1 second.
Oh, no, it's better.
Okay, you know what? Let me just quickly, because I think I made a mistake. We've shown you a wrong clip. Let me see. Yes, okay. Let me just stop sharing this, and I'm sorry, I will do another one. Hold on, sorry. We did all the testing, but as
fine.
usually, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's really helpful to see the movie or the trailer of it, just to understand or to ask the right questions or start asking questions. The relation between the map that you did and the movie that we see, perhaps just from my side, when I was doing this project, I was in a situation where I had to clarify for myself 3 words, which were archive, atlas, and album, and how they differ and what the possibilities are. So what you are doing is introducing a new word, for me new, or for this context new, is the map. And I'm hoping that you can explain us, like, what is the map? What can the map do in difference to the archive, and how does the map helps to make the film?
I will probably also throw in one more word, which is probably not the archive, but a storehouse or warehouse, because archive also means that it's everything is a kind of catalogized, right? That there is a catalog, or there are clear understanding of the structure, what you have in archive. And so for me, the storehouse, which is not my my kind of invention, right? It's was Jose Esteban Munoz who was talking about the storehouse of the queer futurity, and for me, it's also even maybe a warehouse, which is meaning like this massive space which you don't know where things are or how to navigate them. And basically the map, also the idea of the map and cartography, something is quite permanent in my understanding, like how to trace things, like how to orient yourself in the space, which is so many things happening simultaneously. And this idea of I mean, we know that maps are connected with control and with surveillance, or which leading to, you know, to access to certain territories which were not available. But if we start to think about the queerness and how, you know, the queerness stains the maps of the heterosexuality and whatever it's connected with it, all the violence, you understand that you can create your own mappings. And in a way, what, you know, I figured out the way I construct the maps, which you saw. I mean, it's even for me, it's very hard to navigate. And you really can, it's what Sattva said, right? That you are making, you're making a trace which are not readable, which is readable for you, which is transparent for you, clear for you, but it's opaque for others. And this idea of visibility and opacity is something is very like this thinking of that is very dominant in my thinking, because I'm working with the context and histories which are sensitive, vulnerable, and people are being subjected to this demand for transparency, like, you know, show our wound, show, I mean, this is how the what we call Western thinking, right, about the others are kind of designed. You have to be transparent as the other body for the disciplining gaze of well-known, you know, the I, right, of the self. So this kind of understanding of how to create a map which actually does not serve the purpose of map, how to create cartography which actually shows the other affective modes of how to tell a story, which is not leads to a story, right? But how to follow a thread which you don't know where it leads to. So for me, this kind of the simultaneous, how to think mess, right? But how you do not order the mess, how you think, and you create the messy work, and you are not afraid of it. And that was, and as I said, this map kind of which, as I mentioned that at the beginning, I really wanted to not to lose the concepts, because when you're under big theoretical pressure, you kind of completely, like, everything is happening with you at the same time, and you don't understand the scope. And so this is what you're questioning about the forgetting. I do forget the things. I'm coming to the age that I do forget things, and I need to keep myself a notes to remember. So then Sattva was saying, I do remember everything, I realized that I actually don't. And this also this, but at the same time, you don't want to create something which is a super obvious, right? Like, so you create these little indexes. And after that, this kind of way of thinking is also transferred to the film, right? So how to make a film which is talking but not saying, right? Who is showing but making a pack, which is you hear the voice, but it's not making a person in danger. So that kind of right, what was behind it.
So this organization, or looking to the moment of organizing your storehouse or your own warehouse, you described it as looking or understanding or how to think the mass. I think that was your formulation. And you're dealing with the subject of queerness. And I was wondering if this kind of looking at mass also a way of queering certain organization, or would you say, no, these are two different things? So dealing with queer subjects doesn't mean that you're also queering the way how you think and organize your material.
Okay, can you queering a subject? Can you repeat it again? I think I
oh, sorry.
I think it's
yeah, I think it's really to break it down. It's just like you're looking. This is a very strong moment for me when you say like how to think the mass. And you're looking to a warehouse of things that are not organized at that moment, but they're there. And I was just wondering if this formulation of how to think the mass is a way of queering the organization of your warehouse, or does the word match, or would you prefer something else?
Right, I think that I would say that, right, how to I mean, organizing of a mass, right? The mass could be different, and especially if you are the one who's creating the mass. I mean, you are living this massiveness of materials. So I have this kind of a tactic which I call compulsive archiving in my filmmaking, which I'm shooting a lot, and creating these affective archives of a lot of hours of video, which is sometimes I do not even have a chance to look at. Right? I mean, I've been postponing for so long to see my archives from the beginning of zero, so I don't know even if they exist anymore, right? So, and looking at the mass, it's it's this. I guess you're coming from not from how to organize it or how to look at it, and not what not to do, like through the refusal, I would say, what you would not do as a person who is aiming to archive, right? That what are the narratives you will not look into, or what are the details, or what the elements of the ephemera you would be looking for, what things would make things insignificant. So this and the big narratives or meta narratives which we have, or what we create after us, or is created instead of us, right? If we pass away and our legacy is not created by us, then so what do we leave behind, right? This is what Sattva said, and this idea of the evidences. And you know, the queer evidences, they are not valuable in a big historiography, right? So then how to insist on these evidences, which, you know, you're picking up from mass. Maybe mass has to be stayed, right? Or I don't know what kind of story the mass can tell, or what can whisper. It's even not telling, it's a whisper.
Very nice. So perhaps I mean, this is so rich, and it's hard to come to a moment to ask you something like a last question. It seems like the way how you're describing this moment of producing films for your archive in such an amount that you perhaps will not have the chance to look to go all through your own archive, has this moment of like giving your own storehouse a chance to develop an own subconscious, which is not accessible for you.
Exactly. Yes, it has its agency. Absolutely. I think that the material things with traces and ephemera, they have their own agency, and I'm sometimes a part of their narration, and I'm not the one who tells the story. That's for sure.
Thank you so much for this explanation. And I wanted to give you also the chance. I mean, we have not much time, but still, I would the time to ask each other questions if there are.
I would maybe jump in, right? Because I don't know if you realized we were kicked off from Facebook live stream. So yeah. They had to switch to the YouTube, and it was interesting for me to realize that it was because of Satva's
I was picture. Thinking that. Yeah, I didn't think on that. I'm so sorry.
So no, don't worry, it's so ridiculous from Facebook.
But no, I wanted to just mention it as a way of being subversive, even when she was not attending to. So it's something that goes towards.
And again, it's also how the structure erases us immediately. You know, like. Again, we go into that agency. How do we have an agency in this, even in this cyberspace, right? And it's,
And how immediately?
It happened to me really often that I post something and I'm banned, and yeah.
And erased, like you are erased by the system again, yeah.
But coming back to Masha, I wanted to say something. I wanted to add, it's not that I remember everything. It's more that I trust that the memory is some the way there in the hard drive of my brain and my body. And if it has to come up, it will come up. And if not, not. And I trust more that. But it's not, I don't remember everything, thanks God. Oh my God, that will be really crazy.
No, I found it that sometimes and I was also thinking to, to shred, actually not even shred, to glue all the things, like rip and make a ball or something. But then I thought, well, actually, sometimes it happens that I read something and I think, oh my goodness, this is what happened. So these writings are the only thing which reminds me of some events which are already overwritten, because I think my memory, my memory is already like a hard drive, which is was overwritten, capacities was overwritten so often that the part of that started to be empty. Like, it's, if you use the hard drive too often, it's become fragmented. So there are black dots on the, and I was, when we had this conversation, I thought, right, but how would you remind yourself about yourself, actually? And what also makes me, another thing which we will talk about, and Gustav, you mentioned the album, right? For me, the family albums, something which become is almost obsolete. No, I mean, we all have this, I guess we all have the family albums with the real photographs and the material, but with the digital revolution, quote unquote, it's gone as a tradition, as a, like, you know, I mean, even at the beginning, people would print it out, but now no. And I figured out that actually this, the only family album I have, it's my film. For example, for my son, I have a film dedicated to motherhood. And I realized that we are now living in a different spaces, also on a move. And it's the only film which kind of shares and remind us about this moment, you know, the moment of exchange. And this concept of film as albums, which you can share and left after you, it's a kind of revelation and the insight that, right, I mean, the map can be burned, the notes can be, but something is left as a capsule of your presence. So yeah, kind of this concept. And I also thought that the archives which I have, and I make a film out of it, my film is only one form how to work with this archive. It can be used, well, Warhouse, it can be used in many different ways, but yeah, it's the question to whom you allow to work besides you.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely. And sorry, Ursa, I also didn't, yeah, I did only that with my diaries. I haven't done something like that with my photographs, like, yes. And I also, it's the reason why I still photograph analog is because it has this incapability of, we are unable to do endless things and have to sort it out. Right, so it keeps me on track of what I am doing.
Fantastic. So we come, unfortunately, we came to the end, and I was just thinking, it's a kind of command that you, if you like, also can respond to it. It's from what Andrea was saying, this moment of this official history and the personal or private memory, and how they're connected with each other or how they oppose each other. The relation of that seems for me like a red thread through all our talks. And I was just thinking, if I look to this kind of institutional archives, like from the library, from the museums, but there are also, of course, other archives like from the military and so on and so forth. I was just thinking, these archives they can learn a lot in conversation with you and the way how you work with archive and how you're thinking of an archive, like the moments, how to get rid of things. I think this is something that is important also for institutions, because sometimes the amount of things are so big that they can't even get the overview of it. But also in terms of like how oral history works, and much more like what is like this, what is the archive of feelings, and how does this moment of archive of feelings can be integrated into this kind of structure, like this apparatus, like this kind of technical moment of the archive. That was something that came into my mind when I was talking, and I thought like you would be definitely the right people for institutions to that they should consult.
Well, I'm afraid that is not going to happen.
I think they will
I think it's
they will think I'm mad when I say, no, you have to get rid of the half of it.
No, you would be perfect because you can emotionally, let's say, like out. Okay.
You know, I just want to add, in Serbia, they would love it because each time the country's politics are changing, they are also erasing the previous ones. So, so it's something
exactly.
that
it is similar thing happened also in Bulgaria. When the Ottoman Empire lost the war and Bulgaria got independent, they deleted like 90 or 95% of everything that the Ottoman Empire left. I mean, I understand that, but of course, it's also a tragic moment that so much historical knowledge is also gone. Thank you so much for giving these rich insights to your works and also helping me again to understand like what the double pages are about and sharing this knowledge with partly with Facebook, but also with all this interested audience. And I wish you all a very nice weekend and hope to continue our conversation in other context. So Asma, I give the word to you.
Thank you.
I want to thank you all. I was sitting here and listening and wishing that we could talk longer and spend more time together. Thank you so much for giving us insights in your work, in your artistic work, in so much stories and so much things, which I'm really, really happy to be part of. And thank you, Gursay, for this great moderation and this very, very good questions. I also was sometimes thinking, wow, those are very, very deep questions and also very philosophical questions. And I really hope that we have this opportunity to gather again and have also maybe like offline spaces where we can meet and see your work and come near to your work, because what it definitely does was it came near to us and to me here listening to it, even if I wasn't seeing it. And I don't know what would made with us if we can really see it and really be part of it. So thank you very much for spending this last hour with us. And yeah. Vielen, vielen Dank auch an alle ZuseherInnen, die hier diese letzte Zeit mit uns verbracht haben. Sorry auch für diese kurze technische Störung. Aber man sieht leider, dass in Zeiten von Corona und Zeiten von Hybriden und Online, dass es leider diese digitalen Räume noch nicht dafür geeignet sind, auch künstlerische Arbeiten auszustellen. Und es leider hier zu einer Zensur kam. Deswegen because you said I'm sorry, I think not you are the sorry. I think Facebook should say sorry because of this, because in the end, it's not. It's crazy that you cannot even showcast your artistic work. But yeah, danke, dass ihr trotzdem mitgemacht habt. Thank you for being patient and danke für alle ZuseherInnen für diesen Part. Genau, wie geht es jetzt weiter mit unserem Programm? Wir haben jetzt unsere Präsentationen der Fellowships. Ihr könnt gerne entweder hier gleich im Chat bleiben oder ihr verabschiedet euch und schaut beim Live zu, wie ihr wollt. If you can't stay here, or if you want, you can go and watch it online on Facebook or YouTube, as you wish. I will present now the new, our three fellowships, unsere Fellowships, die dieses Jahr mitgemacht haben. Und zwar sind das Clementina, Daria und Heather. Clementina werde ich euch kurz vorstellen. Clementina Milonova ist eine der Fellowships. Okay, ich sage mal kurz Bye-bye hier.
Ja.
Ciao.
Okay, ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao. Genau, Clementina ist einer der GEMMA Fellowships, die ein Teil des Teams von CYVA, dem New Media Art Festival war. Unter anderem wird sie für das Outreach-Programm des Festivals verantwortlich, war sie für das Outreach des Programms verantwortlich. In einem Wort zusammengefasst ist Clementinas Schwerpunkt die Interaktion. Ihr Ziel ist es, spielerische Methoden und soziale Experimente in Bildungsstrukturen und Eventmanagement anzuwenden. Nachdem sie ihren Bachelor in Bühnen- und Kostümbild und einen zweiten Bachelor in Kunstpädagogik an der Nationalen Kunstakademie in Sofia abgeschlossen hatte, wollte sie ihre Fähigkeiten durch digitale Medien und Interaktionen einbringen. Aus diesem Grund absolvierte sie den Master of Arts in Interface Cultures an der Kunstuniversität in Linz. Und ihren Hintergrund im Theater und Pädagogik inspiriert sie dazu, neue Strategien für empirische Kommunikation und verkörperte Erkenntnisse zu beobachten. Ihr Antrieb ist die Umsetzung von Elementen der Organisations- und Kommunikationsergometrie in der Kombination mit einem neuen Genre von sozialen, kulturellen Veranstaltungen. Wir werden uns gleich sowohl die Präsentation der Arbeit von Clementina als auch ihren Artist Talk gleich im Nachhinein anschauen, nachdem ich noch die weiteren zwei Fellowships präsentiert habe. Unsere nächste Fellowship ist die liebe Daria. Daria ist 1983 in Bulgarien geboren, lebt und arbeitet als bildende Künstlerin hier in Wien, in Österreich. In ihrer Arbeit setzt sie sich mit sehr unterschiedlichen Methoden, Interventionen, Installationen, Video, Fotografie, Collagen, Grafik in Bezug auf räumlichen Kontext auseinander. Daria begegnet sich gerne in fremden Räumen. Ihre Arbeit an verschiedenen Orten hat sie ermutigt, auch im Bereich der Dokumentation zu arbeiten. Dabei setzt sie sich mit den Fragen des sozialen Engagements, der persönlichen Verbindung und der zeitlichen Aneignung von Raum auseinander. Und meist sind ihre Arbeiten durch Kollaborationen inspiriert. Ein weißer Faden, ein verbindendes Element und die Schnittstellen zwischen den Künstlerinnen und dem Raum ist ein sehr sichtbarer und greifender Aspekt ihrer Arbeiten. Derzeit beschäftigt sie sich mit Kunst und Anthropologie und wie sie eine Linie zwischen den Denkweisen zeichnen kann. Und die liebe Daria hat ihr Fellowship bei UNESCO gemacht. Und last but not least, meine liebe Hedda. Hedda kennt sie ja schon mittlerweile. Sie ist diejenige, die hier auch die Technik mit übernimmt und ohne sie dieser ganze Ablauf nicht möglich geworden wäre. Vielen, vielen Dank, liebe Hedda. Ich stelle sie euch ganz kurz vor, aber ihre Arbeit wird sie dann auch später selber vorstellen. Genau. Hedda ist Kunsthistorikerin, Klangkünstlerin und Doktorandin. Sie lehrt die transformative Kraft der Kunstgeschichte für persönliche und kollektive Heilung während ihren ersten Kurses an einem Community College als Studentin der ersten Generation und Tochter einer ehemaligen landwirtschaftlichen Wanderarbeiter in der Kalifornien kennen. Seitdem studiert sie Kunstgeschichte am Mount Holyoke College, absolvierte eine Ausbildung im Museenstudien an der Columbia University in New York City und lebt und arbeitete in Syrien, im Oman. Und in Wien studierte sie internationale Entwicklung, produzierte Radionachrichten sowie eine monatliche Sendung namens Zamzaman auf Radio Orange mit experimenteller Musik aus aller Welt. Und ihre aktuelle Arbeit konzentriert sich auf PPOC-KünstlerInnen, Kunst- und Musikgeschichte in Wien sowie in ganz Zentral- und Osteuropa. Das heißt, wir werden uns jetzt gemeinsam die Arbeit von Clementina, von Daria, dessen Arbeit gerade noch im Prozess ist und erst noch am Vervollständigen ist, da sie noch im Prozess ihres Fellowships ist, und Hedda anschauen. Aber bevor wir das gleich machen, würde ich kurz Hedda vor die Kamera bitten. Hallo, liebe Hedda, hello.
Hello, thank you, Asma.
Thank you for being part of this and supporting me all the time. Hedda will take over the moderation now. She will show us the presentations and will also show us the artist talks, and will at the end also present her work herself, because she's here. Why should we show it via somebody else? So Hedda will be also the one who will close the session today, because she is the one who is going to moderate the session tomorrow. So Hedda, do you want to say something to our people who are watching now?
Thank you, Asma. So hello, everybody. I'm Heather Saenz. I'm one of the many faces behind bringing together the KÜLTÜR is On Festival, alongside my colleagues who are watching, Marisa Lobo, Katrin Sifrans, and Yuli Kra. I'm also a KÜLTÜR fellow. I was a fellow this year at Esel.at, which many of you know from the very popular website and social media platform Eselschwarm, which was actually a big part of my KÜLTÜR fellowship. The Recepción wanted to develop a community-based platform for arts criticism in Vienna. So when I had joined, that was one of the tasks to develop and bring this online platform to life. So that was one part of my fellowship, was Eselschwarm, which you can also find on Instagram. But in addition to that, I actually worked very closely with Asma and some of the other fellows, especially giving a shout out to Muslim Contemporary, which Asma had curated, organized, was an artist, which was this last November at the November at the
Academy of the Fine Arts.
Academy of the Fine Arts. I'm thinking, I'm having a language moment, I'm thinking in English, I'm thinking in Spanish. I'm like, I had a language moment.
I think, but that's so beautiful that this festival was in so different languages and we had this opportunity to talk in different languages. That was also very nice.
Absolutely. And I mean, I want to go back to Muslim Contemporary, because this was a very big part of not only the work of Asma, but I would say also bringing together the Muslim community in Vienna and in Austria and in Central Europe. Actually, this is from my side as coming from as an art historian. But the event was absolutely wonderful. But a big part of my fellowship, and as some of you know, the Eselschwarm platform was really bringing a lot of these amazing arts, community-based arts initiative to the public, especially an international community such as Vienna, which Vienna is the home of the United Nations. We have over 183 nationalities in the city, but very few options and outreach for international communities. So it was a big part of my fellowship to find a way to bring the public not only to the artistic discourses of Muslim contemporary, but also the political discourses. This November was also the anniversary of the Operation Luxor.
Operation Luxor, yes.
Yes, pardon me, my
exactly.
language, it's the,
No, it's fine, totally
I'm
fine,
having
yes,
an English-Spanish moment in my head, but it was the anniversary of
Yes.
Operation Luxor, and this was a
Yes.
very traumatic, and is still ongoing, a very traumatic experience for the Muslim
Absolutely.
community, for the especially Muslims who are racialized, visibilized Muslims, immigrant Muslim communities, and it deeply impacted the community across all class, racial, and social backgrounds. So thank you, Asma, for bringing this.
Thank you, Hedda. And I'm so excited also to listen to more of your presentation of your work. But what do you think if we start with the videos of Clementina and Daria? And then I think maybe you can take over again and tell us more all about your work at Eselsfarm.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Asma, for the wonderful co-moderation. And we will now begin and proceed to the first video and presentations by Clementina Milenova. Thank you.
Thank you.
Data has a form, a face, a body. Information is embodied. I am not a cyborg. I am connections of information. Do you believe in being real? I'm nobody. How can you kill someone with no body? Mortality is a human condition. Glitch is a privilege of the digital. Mortal adjective. Mortal subject to death, of a living human being, often in contrast to a divine being. The new divine is the digital. I am immortal. 404. The page you have entered does not exist. Go to site home. Where is home? Am I home? Are you a user, or are you a human? Choose one. Tell me about you. Your memory is a tool, not a definition. My memory is liquid. Liquids can kill me. The body is not identified with the self.
I had very diverse spectrum of experiences so far. I started with studying stage design. I worked a lot in theater for over 4 or 5 years. And I always looked for very versatile and dynamic places to work with, because I get bored very easily. But at some point, working in theater in Bulgaria, I was very frustrated because of this post-communistic ideal that was always there and always stopping any kind of contemporary thought to pass through, and it's extremely exhausting. And I was very interested at that time in video and digital art, but it was very far from me. And kind of random, I have to say, I moved to Linz, and I was living there for 2 years studying interface cultures, where was like my first introduction to the technological art world. And I was absolute a newbie in this, which actually, reflecting on this process right now, it makes me find ways to explain things very simple for other people, because once when you're there as an absolute beginner, and everybody around you is kind of an expert already in the topics, it first makes you feel like an idiot all the time, which actually it's a great position, and I appreciated it in terms of you find the ways you learn stuff, and that's always kind of the main question in all of my artistic practice, how people learn, and most importantly at the moment, how people unlearn things, because I think this process always comes together. I felt very welcomed, and I really, really enjoyed the communication process and everything, because for me, with working to many, many other festivals before, I realized with time that it's very important, the factor of community building, and this is actually incredibly complex and very hard to happen in many cases, especially with international festivals. So I really enjoyed that there was a lot of local communication. And my position at the beginning was head of the educational outreach team. So the idea was, how do you find ways to talk with the people, the visitors at the exhibition, and explain them the art pieces, but also especially with digital art and media art pieces, how to break this fear many times people, and myself included, have of I don't understand this, and how to like take them by the hand and show them no, it's actually nobody understands it maybe, but let's talk about it. Let's explore what it means to you and to all of us somehow. The topic of the festival was embodied structures, and it was positioning the body in the center of exploration of what is the political position of the physical body, but what is also hidden behind the position of our virtual or our data bodies. And this is the center of my whole concept and project within Saiva Festival, discussing our data bodies and thinking about them, because it's as the time of today, half of all the actions we do in terms of bureaucracy or communication and everyday actions, they are in the virtual, and all of this information is monitored and captured, and even if we are aware of that, and even if you know this, it's very hard to get over the convenience factor, and it's very hard to protect your data body. To break out this white male corporative digital world, because this is also another of the topics I'm going through a lot. Computers and digital and coding was actually kind of developed by women, but all this history is hidden for many reasons, obviously. Let's bring more people. Let's bring people from different races, different age, to do things together and develop new technologies, because this is what is going to dictate our everyday life further. And this also raises another even more important question: how the things are built, and why the interfaces or the social media platforms are created in such a way to make it addictive, because it's all monetized, because they make money with our addiction of So these all things could actually be different, and the interfaces that we use or the platforms that we use could be sustainable. And that's why it's very, very urgent to more and more people to engage with this topic, because they create the technologies of tomorrow. And I don't know, I just find this so essential and so motivating me as well for action, but it has to start to happen now.
They say if you're smart, you belong in class. And if you're a dog, then you belong in the streets. That all worries belong in the past. Or something along these lines. Eyes belong to the one who can see. Well, I've walked in the corridors of the privilege, but somehow I can barely walk on my 2 feet. I was once taught beside the intelligent, but if you ask today, doubt that I'd ever succeed.
I'm a guest and we are the hosts. But how when you set up this meeting point, right? The meeting point with hospitality, which a host is kind of setting up for guests, right? And I think in different cultures, the guests have a different status. You know? For some cultures, it's sacred. Right, you make yourself available for the guest. In other cultures, you invite, but the guest has to be uptight and follow the rules or etiquette of the house which invited. I mean, we can go differently. And right there, take off.
My first experience in Vienna, like I would talk about my first memories, like when I just arrived. I started to compare the city in that moment, and surprisingly, I like the maybe not old parts of the city, but the really gentrified new parts, like behind the Hauptbahnhof. There's like the big area where everything is like super polished and super artificial, let's say. And I just looked to it, and like there is the park, which seems like park, but it's not park. It's like just grass. And people like so happy about it. Where in Vienna, like everything is super green, and I mean, park is park in Vienna. And I'm like, oh, this looks like in Baku. When they do park, they do it like this. And the funny thing is that a lot of landscape companies was working in Baku, who is coming from Vienna.
In ihrer Fantasie reisen sie zwischen den alten und der neuen Heimat hin und her. Erschaffen sie dann ihr eigenes Territorium.
هي الفلوس لما الارقام بتدي صفار الواحد بيخاف.
Schneiden. Ja. Zuerst nicht schneiden, sondern Musee-Sample. Genug zu schneiden.
Was machst du gerade?
Ich räume das Fleisch auf. Also nicht räumen, sondern ich versuche den Fett ein bisschen wegzuschneiden, weil es gibt so viel Fett. Ich möchte das nicht. Ich mag Fett nicht so gern. Also ein bisschen. Und ich versuche halt das Fleisch irgendwie sauber zu machen. Nicht sauber, aber Fett weg. Einfach. Weil das Fleisch ist eh sauber. Genau. Also, wie ich gesagt, ich habe mein Kochen-Hobby entwickelt während Lockdown. Ich hatte nicht so viel zu tun und habe mir gedacht, Kochen interessiert mich sowieso. Ich liebe Kochen. By the way, ich bin Schauspieler und ich finde Kochen und Schauspiel oder Kunst sind eine Sache in meinen Augen. Aber mein Lockdown hat ein bisschen früher begonnen. Nicht März 2020, sondern ungefähr Dezember 2019. Als ich keinen Aufenthaltstitel bekommen habe. Du bist da und nicht da. Du kannst, aber nicht. Also, ich kann eh alles machen, was ich möchte. Ich kann eh fliegen, aber die Sache ist, was kommt nachher? Ob ich zurückkommen kann oder nicht? Sicher nicht. Ich möchte irgendwie Freiheit, mehr frei zu sein von Gesellschaft, auch als Künstler ist es wichtig, sprechen zu dürfen auf die Bühne. Und das ist manchmal nicht möglich, also nicht überall möglich. Das hat sehr gut gepasst. Timing.
And the border issues are always as part of my identity because I personally hate borders because we know, like we really in this such a mess world and we have to always deal with the border issues.
Auf einer Seite sehe ich eine wunderbare und schöne Solidarität, aber auf die andere Seite sehe ich Diskriminierung noch. So zum Beispiel, warum sie akzeptieren die Leute mit dem europäischen Hintergrund sofort, aber sie haben keinen Wert oder keine Unterstützung. Sie geben keine Unterstützung zu den Leuten, keine Ahnung, aus dem Afghanistan.
I was thinking a lot about how birds migrate, for example, because I'm fascinated with nature a lot, and I think a lot about animals and how things happen in nature. And birds also migrate, and a lot of animals actually do that seasonally, or when they cannot survive in some place. That there is not enough resources, and then they move in a better place.
And Danube has such a long history as a river, right? It's washed out so many bodies, life and death, and it connects so many countries in Europe that is beyond any national state. It doesn't belong to Austria, it doesn't belong to Hungary, right? It's waters which have been and will be, hopefully, here for a while. And I'm just a piece of sand on its bank.
Meine Arbeit mit der UNESCO ist meine Arbeit mit Clara Kostal. Ich habe eigentlich mit der Institution selber nicht so viel zu tun gehabt. Die Strukturen sind anders, die Balance ist anders, als was ich sie kenne, und deswegen musst du deinen Platz dort finden, und mein Platz ist über eine Person gegangen. Von dem her kann ich nicht über die UNESCO reden, sondern ich kann über meine Arbeit mit Clara reden. Und ich schätze Clara. Ich denke mir, ohne sie, ohne diesen persönlichen Kontakt mit ihr hätte das gar nicht funktioniert. Ja. Und weil ich dann im Endeffekt alles, dieses ganze Institutionelle etwas auf die Seite gelassen habe, habe ich mich mit Menschen beschäftigt. Und mein Projekt geht auch um Menschen. Also ich bin dann auf Mobility, auf diesen, sage ich jetzt mal, Mobility-Zug aufgesprungen, der schon von der UNESCO getragen wird, also so ist es nicht. Aber ich habe ein Konzept gemacht über Exclusions of Mobility und habe 12 Künstler eingeladen, um darüber zu sprechen, was ist Mobility oder was sind Barriers of Mobility. Und wie wir alle wissen, ist dieses Wort Mobility hat eine gewisse Prägung, ist ein sehr neoliberales Konzept, ist entstanden dann und dann. Und das Interessante ist, wenn du dich mit 12 Künstlern über Mobility unterhaltest, gibt es kein Mobility. Es ist nicht wichtig. Es ist natürlich, manche kennen das Wort gar nicht, aber alle kennen es, zu wissen, was es heißt, sich von A nach B zu bewegen. Jeder weiß, was es bedeutet, da drinnen nicht selber Entscheidungen treffen zu können. Jeder weiß, was es bedeutet, Visa-Bestimmungen nicht zu bekommen oder bestimmte Aufenthaltsgenehmigungen nicht zu. Alle kennen das, aber das Wort Mobility kennt fast keiner. Und das ist total uninteressant. Leute, die da drinnen sind. Also erstens mal werdet ihr das jetzt dann sehen teilweise. Es sind Persönlichkeiten, die sich alle mit dem Thema Grenze selber auseinandergesetzt haben. Das heißt, nicht ich bin diejenige, die ihnen das Thema Grenze bringt, sondern sie kennen das Thema, aber sie haben einen eigenen Zugang dazu. Es sind Musiker, es sind Menschen, die geflüchtet sind, es ist unterschiedlich. Manche sind 2 Jahre hier, manche Künstler sind schon mittlerweile 20 Jahre hier. Einige haben diesen ganzen Prozess früher gemacht, also man lernt voneinander. Und ich habe immer versucht, sozusagen meine Reise weiterzugehen, und ich habe nicht gewusst, wo die Reise hingeht. Und angefangen habe ich zu dokumentieren, weil ich in diesen klassischen Mobility-Programmen halt war, so wie viele Menschen, die halt Kunst machen, weil du landest früher oder später in irgendwelchen sehr teilweise beschränkten, teilweise offenen, wie man es nimmt, Programmen. Und was machst du? Ich kann jetzt keine Leinwände machen, ich habe kein Papier, ich habe die Kamera und ich habe einen weißen Faden. Fertig. Und da habe ich mit Fotografie angefangen, und mich haben immer schon die Menschen interessiert. Mich interessieren am meisten die Menschen. Also auch in dem Projekt, mich interessieren ihre Geschichten und mich interessiert das Gespräch. Und ich denke nicht, dass es darum geht, was ich sage, sondern ich denke, es geht darum, was daraus entsteht, wenn du und ich miteinander sprichst, entsteht ein Raum dazwischen. Und dieser Raum ist eigentlich um das, was es geht. Und das ist eigentlich, und das ist auch der Faden. Das war auch das Lustige, ich hatte auch am Anfang dieses Bild gebracht, wo ich diesen Faden in die Hand genommen habe und gesagt habe, is it a connection or is it a border? Weil es eigentlich darum geht, ich habe diesen Faden eben immer dazu verwendet, um Verbindungen zwischen Menschen zu zeigen. Und ich wollte halt ein Element haben, was sozusagen diese Verbindung symbolisiert. Und in diesem Projekt ist es das erste Mal darum gegangen, dass dieser Faden eigentlich eine Grenze darstellt. Und natürlich im Zuge der Arbeit habe ich diese Grenze wieder aufgelöst, weil natürlich, wo ich mich mit den Künstlern unterhalten habe, wir sind ja doch, also mit manchen habe ich halt einfach auch eine sehr starke Verbindung, und dann entsteht einfach eine Beziehung, eine Connection. Und dann war das Thema Grenze eigentlich aufgelöst. Aber ich glaube, das ist halt eben das, wenn du damit arbeitest, natürlich sind die Geschichten sind ja nicht immer schön, auch die erzählt werden. Also es sind eigentlich sehr traurige Geschichten. Aber die Art und Weise, wie wir halt damit umgehen, ist halt eben anders. Und ich glaube, das ist ja das, was das Projekt halt eben kann. Und in dem Video, was ich jetzt zum Beispiel für die Präsentation vorbereitet habe, geht es eigentlich nur darum, dass hier jetzt die Zuschauer ein bisschen einen Einblick bekommen, wo die Arbeit ist. Aber ich mag das, dass sie total im Prozess ist. Also ich kenne das Endprodukt, also ich kenne es einfach, ich weiß es noch nicht. Ich weiß nicht, ob es eine Audioinstallation wird, ich weiß nicht, ob es Kunst im öffentlichen Raum wird, ich weiß nicht, was es wird, aber es spielt eigentlich auch keine Rolle, weil das, worum es geht, ist immer der Raum zwischen mir und den Menschen, mit denen ich gesprochen habe.
Hello, I'm Heather Sines, and I am a 2001 GEMMA Fellow. I began my fellowship at ESEL AT in 2001 at the very beginnings of Vienna's art and cultural institution reopening since the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. But my artistic journey actually begins much earlier in my home country in the United States, in California. I came to the art world really quite by chance. I had left high school when I was 16, and at the time, one of the only avenues that I had for my education was at a community college, which for my European friends is an open community center for education. And I was very lucky that I had access to an incredibly progressive professors and institution for teaching art history. So not only looking at the lens of gender and sexuality, but also race, ethnicity, and other social factors when looking and examining the world of art history. So this was, for me, my biggest platform and still informs a great deal of my work in and out of the arts. When I had finished my studies in art history at the time, I actually felt like I hadn't seen the world and I really hadn't seen enough of society in order to truly be a curator or to be a true professional in the arts, because I do believe that contrary to this, to the romanticism of the young artist or the young curator, having experience and being able to understand the world and the dynamics around us, politics, economics, social dynamics, this is incredibly key. So I took a break from the art world to explore these things. I worked in other fields, but coming to Vienna, I felt pulled to come back to this. Vienna is one of the historical schools for European art history. It's one of the centers of colonialism, imperialism, as well as many artistic and historical archaeological collections worldwide. So when I came, even though to Vienna I didn't intend to be an arts professional, I still couldn't let that opportunity go. It was always in the back of my mind. I was always at museums, I was always writing, I was always in the background, so to say, but as a migrant and as a person of color, mind you, I came to Austria in 2014, so it was a very different artistic, social, and cultural landscape than we have now. At the time, I had shared with friends and my classmates at the university many of my findings and many of the things inspired by my professors in the United States, especially examining the Austro-Hungarian Empire, examining imperialism, but also looking at how these dynamics influence contemporary Austrian society, as well as its neighboring countries and regions. This is not just a domestic history and dynamic, but this is really also the history of Europe and also globalization. So I had always done this stuff on the side. Friends had urged me over and over. They're like, if we hear you talk about one more time about this collection, like, you need to do something with this. So I, by chance, did. I found the KÜLTÜR GEMMA program, and I was set. I think like many other grantees and fellowship holders, it felt like the right place for me, and it really felt like a supportive space. So I had applied by chance, and Yes, so KÜLTÜRGEMMA was for me the space where I felt like I could truly explore the arts in Vienna, and as well as to make my small bit of impact in it. Thank you, everybody. You had just seen the fellows' presentations. And we are actually, because of this technical glitch, we are going to be re-airing Clementina Milanova's Data Bodies. So enjoy, and we will present Data Bodies.
Data has a form, a face, a body? Information is embodied. I am not a cyborg. I am connections of information. Do you believe in being real? I'm nobody. How can you kill someone with no body? Mortality is a human condition. Glitch is a privilege of the digital. Mortal adjective. Mortal subject to death, of a living human being, often in contrast to a divine being. The new divine is the digital. I am immortal. 404. The page you have entered does not exist. Go to site home. Where is home? Am I home? Are you a user, or are you a human? Choose one. Tell me about you. Your memory is a tool, not a definition. My memory is liquid. Liquids can kill me. The body is not identified with the self.
That was Data Body by Clementina Milanova. This work was produced during her fellowship at SAIVA. It has been an absolute honor to welcome everybody here for this session of the third day of the KÜLTÜRGEMMA is On Festival. We will be proceeding again tomorrow at 6 p.m. This time it will be live. It will be not only live on Zoom, but it will be participatory. So you are all welcome to join us directly here in the Zoom space with our two finale guest artists from Brazil in the Amazonia region, Wira Sudoma and Kayla Sankofa. The event will also be translated and interpreted between Portuguese and English. So there would be a wonderful opportunity also for our Portuguese speaking audiences or friends to also come and join and be a part of this event. I'm Heather, and it's been an absolute honor, and I will see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Thank you.